So excited. This is such a great venue. Thank you so much to the town for allowing us to use this space, and your staff has been so great. We've really appreciated it. I'm flipping pages to find my right page on my notes. Excuse me. As an organization, we gather annually to celebrate past year's accomplishments, acknowledge where we are, and look ahead to what's on the horizon. Each year, you, as members of the Chamber, have the opportunity to select a board of directors to lead this organization. Would our current board members please stand as I call your names? Pat McNally, Angie Denton, Geraldine Meckler, Brian White, Tim Hotkins, Jennifer Lane, Todd Faulkner, Roger Brantley, and Perla Liriana was not able to be with us tonight. Would you help me give them a round of applause? Thank you. The Zebulon community is a better place for business because of a group of thoughtful business leaders just like these board members that started the Zebulon Chamber of Commerce. Many of you in this room have shared years of leadership on our board of directors. You painted a vision for our future, and we're honored to now be part of helping continue down the path that you worked to create. If you've ever served on our board of directors in any capacity, would you stand so that we can thank you? I know, there's quite a few of you here that have served. Thank you. Thank you. The Chamber, and by extension the community, also benefits from support from another group of volunteers. The Zebulon Chamber Ambassadors work alongside the Chamber staff in a variety of capacities to help create amazing events like this. We couldn't do it without them. I'd like to ask them to stand as well so we can recognize them for the support they offer. Our ambassadors, a few of you have to leave early, I understand, but thank you so much for all that you do. And we are grateful to each of you, and a special thank you to Cecile Mullins, who will be leaving our ambassador team to help launch Eno Neo. Yeah. Just some reflections. A glance back at 2018 reminds us that time marches on. Our community has continued to see growth in so many arenas, from developments to new businesses, from nonprofit successes to a change in location for the DMV. As I look at some of the highlights, here are a few that have been notable for us as a community. Several businesses were purchased, business owners purchased buildings and or land to relocate or expand. In partnership with the town, the South Arundel sidewalk is now complete, and the welcome sign as you enter downtown now also promotes several of our nonprofit groups. ZDAC, if you don't know that phrase yet, that's the Zebulon Downtown Arts Council, has their 501c3 status, and they're finding more and more ways and opportunities to highlight the arts for Zebulon. Debnam's Ace Hardware celebrated 100 years. Whitley Furniture Galleries is celebrating 112. Comfort Master is celebrating 25. And this time next year, I believe there are several businesses in the room that are going to be celebrating 1 year. Business leaders like Craig Peebles, Michael Landon, Dr. Leo Haight, Renee Baker, John and Beth Muter, Robert Terry, Brian Bullock, and others have invested or reinvested in buildings, and each one adds another layer of positive impact for community and economic development. Moving forward also means some businesses have seen a shift. Two that we have enjoyed seeing and working with a little bit are A&B's Abbey Carpet and Floors and Cam Tool and Die. After 41 years in the business, Mike Anders had an opportunity to mentor the future owner of his business. Jason Thornton spent 3 years learning the trade and learning about the community that Mike was already serving. Jason could have started a business of his own, and I believe he would have been successful. Mike and Jason's decision, though, to invest in the future of the business that already existed by creating a mentor-mentee opportunity opened the door to both honoring tradition and moving forward with stability. A great example of how to keep business here in Zebulon, so thank you. Cam Tool and Die has also navigated the transition path this year, and with us to share a snapshot of that story is Mark Beck. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you so much, Denise. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you to the Chamber for having us. My name is Mark Beck, and I'm here with my business partner, Tony Butler. We both live in Charlotte, and we would like to thank everyone for welcoming us to this community so warmly. We really are delighted to be here today. And in the few minutes that I have to speak with you, I'd like to try and do three things. First of all, I'd like to introduce you to us and our company. I'd like to tell you what it is we're trying to accomplish, what our purpose is, and then why we have found Zebulon such an attractive place to invest and to try and grow our business. And so with that, let me see if this works. So the first thing I'd like to do is just tell us about us. And the first thing you should know about us is that values really matter. I was actually sharing my business card at my table, and people noticed on the back of our business card, we have these 4 values. They guide everything that we do as we try to build businesses and grow them and make investment decisions. These 4 principles were, Tony and I spent hours discussing them, determining what they meant to us, and they really are important to the way we do business. Now, in terms of our backgrounds, both of us live in Charlotte now. Tony has 2 master's degrees, one in statistics and the other is an MBA. And he spent about 25 years in the banking and finance industry. My background has been in manufacturing. Right out of high school, I started my first company. I did 3 startups, and then I decided to go and get a degree, an undergrad degree, did another startup, and then I went off to Harvard Business School. After Harvard, I went to Corning Incorporated, where I ran about $2 billion worth of business there. From Corning, went to Danaher, ran a $5 billion portfolio, and then I was given an opportunity to lead a company as CEO, and that's what brought me to Charlotte. I ran a $4 billion company that was private, and about 2 years ago we went through the IPO process, and that company is now listed on the New York Stock Exchange. About a year ago, I left corporate America and found my partner, business partner, Tony, and the 2 of us decided we wanted to do something very different going forward. And so with that, we created a company that we call B Square. And as you can see here, what we're trying to do is use B Square as a parent company to make investments in manufacturing businesses. Our intent is to create this portfolio and use our experiences and our expertise to help these companies thrive and grow and reach their potential, and most importantly, to help the individuals in those companies reach their potential. Once we own a company, we don't micromanage it. We appoint a general manager, we leave the name of the company the same, and we try to take everything that's great about the company we bought and all the reasons we bought it and preserve those things, such as where they are. We want to keep the companies in the communities that gave birth to them and have helped them grow over these years. The one advantage that we believe we can bring, though, is that once you start to put a few of these companies together, they can better help each other. They can rely on one another to accomplish things that maybe they wouldn't be able to do all by themselves. And so let me tell you just a little bit about the company that we bought here in Zebulon. This is the first company in our portfolio. We felt like this was the most important decision we make because it's the one that would be the cornerstone of B Square. And we looked high and low. We looked at dozens and dozens of companies until we found the one that we absolutely fell in love with, and that is Cam Tool and Die. And one of the people who stood up a minute ago, because they've served on the Chamber Board of Directors, is one of the founders of CAM, and that's Don Mitchell. And Don, just raise your hand or stand up. A huge shout out to Don for building a fantastic company. And you should know, it was just not 2 guys from Charlotte who thought so, but there were people from Georgia and people from other parts of the country who came and visited this company and said, I want to own this company next. I want to be the next person to have the privilege and the stewardship of running it. And we're very grateful that in that process, Don selected us to be the next ones to take this ball forward and move it along. You can read here a little bit about CAM, but it's a group of very committed, dedicated people. And one of the things that we liked most about CAM is CAM had a ready now general manager. Don had mentored and coached and given many experiences to a gentleman who's here tonight, Randy Jones. And Randy was able to step right up from being the production supervisor to now he's the general manager, or you could think of him as the president of CAM. He runs everything day to day. Tony and I live in Charlotte. We're not able to be there every day. And so Randy is the boss. And we all work for Randy, even me. So why did we like Zebulon? What was it that attracted us? Obviously, we liked CAM. But what made CAM special is many of the same things that we think makes this community special. You've got tremendous access to education here. Some great community colleges, some great universities. You also have programs through organizations like NC Works that allows people who maybe sort of got lost for a couple of years to find their way back and make a great contribution. I won't name names, but we have people in very senior positions at CAM doing very well for us and for themselves who earned a GED rather than a high school diploma. And I think that's fantastic. That's the way it should be. And with Don's help, we've established a way to create a pipeline for more people like that to find their way into a really interesting and growing industry. Through Don's help, we've also created pipelines into NC State and to the community colleges. One of the things we noticed is when we went around looking at companies around the Carolinas, most manufacturing operations we visited, we'd walk into, and it looked like everyone was going to retire in the next 5 years, because the average age was in the late 50s. But when you go to CAM, you see we've got people of every age. We've got people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, and they're all working together and doing great things. And that vibrancy is important, and that's what this community can provide because of the access to education. Another thing that we liked is being close to Research Triangle Park, where we have access to wonderful customers. We like customers who are demanding, customers who want the products that are hard to make. If anybody could make it, then it's not going to be that interesting. So we like the demanding customers, and there's plenty of them here. I love that we have lots of pharma customers, but we also have aerospace and automotive and others that are really important to us. We love that the Chamber of Commerce and the community is behind business. This is a business-friendly place. And so as Tony and I continue to look for that next company and that next company and that next company, we have a huge bias. And in fact, just about everything in our pipeline is in this area. And so it's kind of interesting that two guys from Charlotte have decided the place to spend our money, the place where we want to build our businesses, is here with all of you. And we couldn't be more excited about it. We think this is a vibrant and growing place with a very bright future. And again, thank you for welcoming us into this community. Thank you very much.
Stories like these remind us that working together compounds our impact. Last October, Commissioner Beverly Clark and Christine from our office joined me at a North Carolina Economic Development luncheon at Rocky Mount Mills. While we enjoyed the meeting, we were especially encouraged by one of the presenters. David Joyner shared his perspective on regionalism and the impact it can have on community when we're willing to work across traditional lines and borders for the good of the region. Since then, David and I have attended a couple of other events together, and he was gracious enough to share comments at the town's board retreat a couple of weeks ago. David is a proud native of Eastern North Carolina and the president of Joyner Media and Strategies. He was recently highlighted by the Business North Carolina magazine, which I have my copy here. I was wondering if you might sign it when we're done. It's a great magazine, a great article, and hello. Could you ask for a better picture? I don't know, can y'all see that? Is that great? Nice. Yeah. Sweet. So if you'll sign that before you leave, I'll sleep right up here. He was highlighted here. He was one of 22 young business professionals that's making a difference in their community. He fights hard to serve his community and served for 6 years as the vice chairman of business infrastructure and environment for the Rocky Mount Area Chamber of Commerce. He was recently awarded the Chamber's prestigious President's Award for his continued service to the Chamber and towards the economic development advancement of the region. David served for 10 years on the board of directors for the Boys and Girls Club, which is something very near and dear to our hearts here in Zebulon, and currently serves as the Promotions Committee Chair for the City of Rocky Mount's Central City Revitalization Panel. He's also a newly appointed board member for the Teach for America of Eastern North Carolina's Board of Directors. You're a very busy person, aren't you, David? Thank you. Please help me join me in welcoming David to our stage.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you, Denise, and I want to thank all of you for having me here tonight. I appreciate it. I'm very passionate about regionalism, and that's not from any kind of political ideology. I don't get paid to say that. It's just something that I have learned that is a strategic necessity for our region and something that I believe has held us back outside of the triangle, Eastern North Carolina, that we haven't done correctly over the years, and it's something that I'm starting to see a lot of positive signs about, so thank you for having me here. I do also want to, before I start, thank whoever cooked the food tonight. That was extremely delicious. I am a single man, so my Tuesday night meals are not normally like that. So I appreciate. I was sitting there the whole time like, man, I wish I could take this home for 2 more days. That would help. And also to the middle school and high school. Can we give them a great big hand for the serving? Thank you to your board chairman, Mr. Bayer, so to all the other officials in the room. Also, who came with me from Rocky Mount, David Ferris, the president of our Rocky Mount Area Chamber of Commerce, and then my good friend Kirby Slade from Nash UNC Healthcare. Can we give them a hand for being here? And thank them for being here as well. And then I want to say a special thank you to Denise and to your chamber staff. You are very fortunate, and somebody made a very wise hiring decision. And it matters more than anything the people that we put in these positions. The reason a lot of us over the years have been held back and we've seen a lot of stagnation is because we hadn't always had the right people in the right positions. There's been reluctance at times to move people and for change, and we should not fear change, and you all made a very wise decision. And so I just want to ask you to give her a hand and her staff a hand and help celebrate them. So she said, I'm the president of Jordan Media and Strategies Incorporated, and we are a marketing, PR, and business development firm based in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. We are housed at the Rocky Mount Mills. Capital Broadcasting that owns the property is one of our larger clients, and we guide the marketing and overall PR strategy for that development. I also live out there as well, and it's been exciting watching that and seeing how that's helping to transition Eastern North Carolina in a positive direction. I also travel a lot across the state doing a lot of this type speeches. I work a lot with the State Economic Development Office as well as the Tourism Office as well as the North Carolina Rural Center as it relates to community branding and how you tell your story. And that's what I wanted to talk about regionalism. First, to just put that in perspective, why regionalism matters. Oftentimes, that is presented in communities with the best of intentions as just a cheerleading exercise. It's something we need to do to be excited about. Typically, there's a lot of conversation about slogans. I always make jokes whenever I travel across the state. If I had half of the money that has been spent on slogans in the state of North Carolina, I would be a very wealthy man. And the problem is because we have a misunderstanding of what branding is versus what slogans are. Branding is perception and perception is reality. And the point I always make to people is you might think you have the best coffee shop in the world, but if everybody in the town thinks it sucks, then that's your brand. That is the brand. No matter how much you put it on that sign, what people are saying the most is the brand. The reason why Apple doesn't have to run Black Friday sales is because Apple has a very powerful brand. They don't need to discount it because they've done the work over the years to build up their brand. Most people you know can't tell you how to fix an Apple computer. Most people you know can't work their smartphone correctly, but they're proud to have it. They are excited to pull out their laptop and for you to see that Apple logo on the back of it because it means something. They build a culture. It says to people that you are tech savvy, whether you are or not. It says to people that you're very engaged in your work and that you're on the front end and the elite end of things. But that's smart branding. The other part of that, and I want to think about this in communities, we have got to transition from marketing counties into marketing a sense of place. And what I mean by that is, I get it. When we travel a lot, you pull into a community when you're coming off of 64. So when you're going into Nash County, there's a sign that says where business meets opportunity. I promise you that there has never been one person who visited Nash County and said, you know what, I wasn't going to stop here, but when I saw that sign, and it said where business meets opportunity, I was like, you know what, I'm going to build a business in Nash County. Or I'm going to buy a house. No, it's just a thing that we have to do. Branding is when you want to go away to the mountains and you go to Asheville for the weekend because you know you're going to have a good time. But notice you say, I'm going to Asheville. You don't say, I'm going to Buncombe County to spend the weekend. That's the difference. And that's an understanding of branding. And so whether it's Zebulon, whether it's Rocky Mount, whether it's Wilson, whether it's Greenville, how we tell our story is ultimately what will strategically position us to be able to be more competitive and to be able to rebuild our communities. And that is going to challenge us to change a lot of what we've been doing and a lot of standard ways of thinking. And the most important part of that is you can tell your story differently and not lose the sense of who you are. The fear that's there a lot of times, and I've said in a lot of meetings across the state and having this conversation, is people feel like, well, if we change the way we've been doing it, then we're going to lose the belief of who we were. And when so-and-so built so-and-so back in 18 so-and-so and all those types of stories, you don't have to lose any of that. That doesn't have to go away. You don't have to change your traditions. You don't have to lose your unique sense of pride. We're just changing the mechanisms on how you tell that story, the same way businesses have to adapt to the markets that we currently live in if they want to stay in business. And that matters for the school system, that matters for the tourism office, that matters for the municipal governments. The world is just shifted and changed, and there is a lot of disruption. And as it relates to marketing, your communities, you are competing in a world that people before never had to compete against. It is 24/7, and it is a rampant contest for attention. That's the best way to think about it. Social media, and I want to make this very clear to you, social media is one of the most powerful communication mediums in the world, whether you like it or not. The way your 16-year-old child uses social media is not the barometer of how social media is used across the country. If that wasn't the case, then the most powerful man in the world would not be using social media as a way to bypass the media to get his message out. It's a powerful tool of communication. And if you use that communication tool effectively, you can do things and you can reach people in ways that people never dreamed of before. But it starts with first understanding your story and telling about who you are. And you have to first define your story. What do you say at our firm is your story defines you. And actually that came from, it was an old gospel song when I first started the business. And we were thinking about the slogan. And it was an old gospel song we used to sing that was, this is my story, this is my song, I'm praising my Savior all the day long. And it made me think about it. You had to tell your story. It was something powerful when you saw people stand up on Sunday mornings and tell their story. It helped you better understand them. So why is it then when we're trying to tell the story of our communities, we think we can just slap a slogan on a sign, put a picture of a building that's closed 3 days out of the week on the front of the brochure, and then market that as a way for us to rebuild our community? That is asinine and it makes no sense. We have to honestly think about this the same way businesses think about being competitive. The reason when you say the triangle, that means something to everybody in this room because they have done the work over the years to strategically work together while at the same time competing against one another because they understand where there's larger shared values and where they need to then have a friendly competition. If a plant opens up in Raleigh, 9 times out of 10, people in Durham are going to be working at that same plant. If a plant opens up in Zebulon, I promise you that there's some people from Rocky Mount, and there are people from Wilson, and there are people from all the other counties that you touch, which will also be working there. Regionalism is a way to position yourself, to leverage your strengths, and to cooperate with your neighbors to tell your story more effectively. Because the week before last, we had the Secretary of Commerce in Rocky Mount. I coordinated a visit for him to come to Rocky Mount to have this conversation. And he made a very clear point to everybody in the room. He said, companies do not look at county lines. Companies do not look at boundaries. They look at regions, period. And he was like, when they look at those regions, they look at the region as a whole. Because if they were just looking at a town, most of our towns would not be able to support the companies that are attracted to our region in the first place. They're looking at the education, they're looking at proximity to the highways, and on and on and on and on. So with that being said, we have, I think, an impressive opportunity going forward for us to do a better job of partnering together to tell the Eastern North Carolina story. That is a beautiful story to tell. That is something that we should be proud of, but there are some mechanisms we have to put in place to do that. First of all, there has to be the right people in place at the right organization that are solely in charge of executing that mission. And that is a big part of the problem that we have in a lot of our towns. I have to do it, I think, end of the month for the North Carolina Rural Center. And they'll have me come in, and for their Rural Economic Development Institute, they bring people all over the state. And we talk about this. And one thing that I always find interesting when you're talking to leaders and mayors and economic development officials, when I ask who's responsible for telling the story and for being on the front lines of marketing the town, nobody can ever tell me who that person is. People usually say, well, that individual is doing it, and then that person, they do it at that office. And so what you'll usually have is 5 different organizations trying to do the same thing, and all of them doing it moderately well. Where if you work together and found a way to strategically have that conversation and figure out whose strengths are what and whose weaknesses are what and pool your resources, then we could be doing a better job of effectively telling our stories, which means we could be doing a better job of effectively marketing our communities. And that matters for the school systems, that matters for the tourism office, that matters for downtown development. Most of our communities are not large enough or big enough for there to be one agency solely in charge of all of it. And where I think chambers of commerce play a unique role in that work and in that mission is most chambers of commerce are the unifying body in the community, meaning they're typically seen as neutral. So if people are angry at the city council about an issue one week, they're not blaming the chamber for it. If they're angry at the tourism office or the superintendent of the school system, they're not mad at the chamber for it. You have to have somebody that can constantly be turning the wheel and maneuvering all those people together. And I say that as somebody who didn't know anything about chambers when I grew up. It was never an aspiration of mine to be on the board of a chamber of commerce. It was like, I'm working hard one day to sit on the board. That wasn't a thing that I even knew existed. But I saw the strategic value in it, and I firmly believe that that is one thing we can uniquely do in our areas, strengthen those departments and bolster those organizations and find a better way to partner with them on how we tell our stories and how we effectively market our communities. Regionalism is not a choice, ladies and gentlemen. Regionalism is the way of the world, and it's our future, and you can choose to do it or not. Jack Welch, the former GE chairman, had a very important point he made when he was giving a discussion, and he said, if you don't have somebody in your organization whose sole job it is every day to come in and think about innovation meaning doing things differently, creativity is thinking about new things, innovation is doing new things. It's a quote from Thomas Trout, a famous economist. He said, if you don't have somebody doing that, then eventually you won't have an organization. In other words, you have to have somebody who's constantly looking out forward, looking at data, and seeing the way the market is shifting, the way things are shifting, and trying to figure out how can we better position our community to be more effective. To me, personally, it makes no sense that throughout our counties that our leaders don't have closer relationships. We need to see that as a priority. At events like this in the future, all of our leaders, when they can, should be there. We should be attending each other's event and knowing what's going on in one county versus what's going on in the next, because we all are going to benefit from it. That DMV being relocated to Rocky Mount is just not a Rocky Mount win. That is an Eastern North Carolina win. That sends a strong and powerful signal to the state of North Carolina that Eastern North Carolina matters. Those things are important, and we have to strategically see them that way. In closing, I'll say this. I was given a WRL interview yesterday with a client of ours, small business, and she asked, the reporter asked me at the end of the interview, she was, why are you, what's your view on Eastern North Carolina? Why are you so passionate about it? What's your biggest concern? And I told her this, I think that Eastern North Carolina's best days are ahead of it. I think we have some unprecedented opportunities in front of us. But I think we need to stop looking to someone else to give us those answers, because there is no cavalry coming over the hill. For all of the meetings that I go to, or somebody telling me that somebody in the triangle is going to come down, I go to the triangle all the time, and I've never heard one of them say that. This is up to us to fix, and we should see that as an unprecedented responsibility, and we should also see it as a great opportunity. That we don't need someone else. We need to find ways to strategically work with them and partner with them where it makes sense, but we need to figure out how to better tell our story. We need to completely disrupt organizations and institutions where that makes sense based on information and data, and we need to put the right people in the right positions, and we need to strategically work together as one unit so that we are moving forward in a way that makes sense for all of us and is measurable and is something that we can all be proud of. If not, we will be having this conversation, mark my words, 10 years from now. I want to thank each and every one of you for allowing me the opportunity to be here, and our best days are ahead of us. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, David. Great. We appreciate that. And thank you for opening the door for our next presentation. Working together for the good of community really ties right into our town and chamber partnership and how that's setting us up to be prepared for growth while building relationships for long-term sustainability. At our Zebulon Next conference last fall, Crystal Morphus shared the process of creating a community retention business program. Your feedback as business leaders at that event provided the framework for Crystal to begin building the program. She's joining us tonight to share a review of the reasons for having the program and to provide updates on next steps for launching the program. Crystal Morphus was a local economic developer before serving 10 years as a managing partner in a consulting firm. She founded Creative Economic Development Consulting in 2012. It is an entrepreneurial, innovative firm with a unique commitment to giving back to the field of economic development. The firm provides strategic planning, product development, impact analysis, and organizational development services. They have a pay-it-forward philosophy, and they give away one consulting project a year through their Creative Give Back program. Crystal has a Bachelor of Arts in Economics from Salem College and a Master of Science in Economics from UNC Charlotte. She's a certified economic developer and a regular instructor for economic development courses at UNC Chapel Hill and Georgia Tech. Please help me welcome Crystal Morphus.
Wow, David, that's really hard to follow. That's such an important message, storytelling. And all of you in this room are one of the most important pieces of the Zebulon story. The business community is so very important. One of the key reasons, and I'll share this number with you again on the screen, is that out of all jobs that are created in a community and all investment in a community, about 75% of it comes from you, from businesses that are already located in the community. Business recruitment projects get a lot of attention and a lot of media. Business startups get a lot of excitement in the news as well. But day in, day out, it's the people in this room that are building the story for this community. Existing businesses are that bedrock. And the Chamber has recognized that with the Business Retention and Expansion Program. I want to share that with you and, more importantly, talk about how you can be engaged in it. We did quite a bit of research on the community. A lot of information was gathered. Many of you participated in the survey, the business survey, which provided us good data and information. And we used that to help build the Business Retention and Expansion Program. I mentioned that about 70 to 80% of all investment and job creation come from businesses that are already in the community. So as a Chamber of Commerce and as a community, when you think about your economic development strategy, if you're not taking care of the customer you already have, it's very hard to get a new customer. When we did our survey, we found that 48% of Zebulon businesses plan to expand. That's awesome news that half of you in this room have plans to expand in this community, and we need to make sure we capture those opportunities here. We know that peer-to-peer marketing is the most effective tool, and I'll talk about how you can become marketing agencies and help tell that Zebulon story to other businesses. We know that 31% of you plan to expand elsewhere, and we need to make sure that we don't miss that opportunity to keep that expansion in this community. Goals of a business retention and expansion program are, of course, to retain business in this community, to facilitate growth and expansion of companies here, to create that business environment, that business climate that makes you want to stay here, and really to work on strengthening that partnership. As David mentioned, you have to tell your story, but a story begins with the people in this community, the business community, and everyone in the community. One of the cornerstones of a good business retention expansion program is to visit and survey and talk with you about your needs. So the next time someone from the chamber, Denise, calls you and says, I want to meet with you and talk with you about your business, about how it can grow in this community, open your door to her. The only way that the chamber can help you is to strengthen that relationship with the chamber. So expect Denise to be visiting with you, to meet with you, to talk about opportunities for growth and development, and to bring to you information and resources that can help you stay a part and grow in the community. But be aware that the BRE program has a confidentiality policy, so all that information you share with her is confidential, and she can work with you as that good, strong partner. Already the Chamber has a lot of business appreciation programs. That's going to be strengthened in the Business Retention Expansion Program. I know some of you in this room have probably been recruited by other communities that have said, why don't you come and grow in our community, right? Some of you have had those recruitment calls. We want to make sure that you know that you have a tremendous opportunity here, and we can do that by saying thank you, like we're doing this evening, but also at many other times throughout the year. It's important to let you know about the Business Retention Expansion Program, so look for more information on the Chamber website so that you can learn about the resources that are available to you to grow your business. For example, there are tools in this community that help you with business planning, with financing, if you do importing and exporting. If you're thinking about starting a new business, there are resources for you to help start up. There are all types of agencies and organizations that are there to support you, and the Chamber is going to be marketing and promoting those through their website, through public relations, like David said, to tell that story to you. So look for that information. Here's how you can be engaged. The most effective marketing tool in economic development is peer-to-peer contact. It's what one of you says to a business colleague about doing business in this community. So how can you turn that to an advantage for Zebulon? The next time you're at a trade show and you're meeting with your customers and suppliers, tell them about your good experience operating in this community. The next time you're at a professional conference and they say, where are you from? So I'm in Zebulon, and let me tell you about how awesome it is to do business in this community. The next time that you are traveling somewhere, even for personal travel, and someone asks you, so where are you traveling from today? Share those stories with your business network, and it turns you into a business recruiter for this community. So someone like Denise can travel to other communities and share the good news, but it's much more effective when you, a person who owns a business, who's grown a business, who does business in this community, to share your story with other people. That's the most effective tool in economic development. The BRE program also will provide direct value to you. The Chamber of Commerce already helps you in networking. It can help expand that network, help you find other people to do business with. It can support your own business development. And they can provide you with lots of data and information that can help you grow your business. For example, they can provide you with retail leakage information. We've supplied some of that to them, so you know what dollars are leaking out of this community, and if they're leaking out, there's an opportunity to keep them here. A couple of other things that they'll do is they'll try to assess those companies that may be struggling. There are companies go through all phases of a business cycle, and part of this program will identify those companies that are struggling and target specific resources to them to help them stabilize and then grow in the community. They also help make companies aware of incentives that are available for growth and expansion. There are major incentives like you read about in the newspaper, but there are all types of other support through Small Business Center, SBA loan programs, and other financing tools that can help as well. We've recommended that their staff continue some professional development and, of course, measure this program. But in addition to the Business Retention Expansion Program, the Chamber of Commerce has a strong partnership with the town and the community and other economic development initiatives as well. So in the report that we will deliver to the Chamber, we talk about a few of those, and I'll briefly mention them here. First is marketing, and David did a good job of talking about how important that story is in marketing, how important it is to have that common message. And the Chamber and town and the community can work really closely together to make sure that message is unified and it's delivered in many different ways. And we talked in the report about social media. David hit on that. And how important that is today, about materials, how they can be organized and coordinated, and also a unified communications strategy. We were talking at our table at dinner, and sometimes I will work in a community, and tourism will have a marketing message and a brochure, and downtown will have a marketing message and a brochure. The town may have one, the Chamber of Commerce will have one, the Economic Development will have another one. And there's no unified message and communication strategy, and that's something that the town can do through the Chamber can do through its partnership with the town and with all of you engaged. The word placemaking and how place matters was mentioned earlier, and it is true. Companies do not locate in counties; companies locate in places. Same thing for people. When people ask you where you're from, you say a place, and placemaking is very important. This will help your business because it will not only help spark revitalization, but it can help attract people to this community. The number one challenge that companies have today is recruiting and retaining quality workforce. And place is so important to attract people, which companies need, and it's in essence a strategy for attracting companies. So things like amenity development and additional housing development. Everywhere I go in economic development, we work all across the Southeast, housing is really, after workforce, housing is the second most hot topic right now in many different forms. I mentioned workforce talent is the number one issue. It is about finding and retaining quality people. One of the things we recommend is expanding higher education opportunities. So all of the baby boomers that are retiring every day, 10,000 a day, they like to locate in communities that have ongoing and continuous learning opportunities. Strangely, at the other end of the spectrum, that's one of the things that millennials want. They want ongoing educational and learning opportunities. That's why you see more and more communities investing in satellite campuses, extensions of universities, for example, because we find that people are really engaged in lifelong learning. So as a way to keep people here, we recommend expanding higher education offerings. Strengthening the relationship with elementary and middle schools. It's nice to see the students here. And also supporting a town goal. And by the way, town has a very strong strategic plan that addresses economic development, and we've aligned these strategies with that plan. And one of them is to support the goal of a high school in the community. One other area where the Chamber can add a lot of value to you is in a concierge service. I'm a small business owner, and one of my great frustrations is when I go to, let's say, for example, modify my building, and I get one answer from planning, another answer from inspections, the fire marshal gives me another answer, I get another answer from a different department, all around, and sometimes that's really frustrating. I know that that's not the case in Zebulon, but having a concierge that can walk a business through that whole regulatory process, that can be a single point of contact for you and answer questions, really streamlines a process for you and can be very helpful. It can also help you navigate all those resources that are available to you and help you put you in contact with them. So that's another direct value to this group from the Chamber of Commerce. Partnerships are very important. David mentioned regionalism. Regionalism is a partnership, right? And the other partnerships are really important too. The Chamber is taking on a greater and a larger role in economic development through support of the town and also through support of the business community. But they're going to need more resources. They're going to need more support from the business community. They're going to need more support from the town to increase its efforts in economic development, specifically for the Business Retention Expansion Program, but also to support those other things like marketing and placemaking and talent development that we talked about. So what are some next steps? First step is a funding request to the town. The Chamber of Commerce gave a presentation to the town board just a couple of weeks ago as part of their planning retreat. They're going to make a request to the town for additional funding that will allow them to expand the economic development program. Then after that, an approval of the implementation steps for the Chamber's Business Retention Expansion Program, and also an approval of implementation for their greater involvement in those other things that are important to the town, again, like placemaking. And then to launch it and move forward. So as I close, I want to say that, again, the people in this room are the most important component of that story in Zebulon. And the Chamber recognizes that and is placing a new emphasis, a higher emphasis on support and development of the business community. So I hope that you will stay engaged with the Business Retention Expansion Program and that you will all continue to be that strong voice in the Zebulon story. So thank you very much.
Crystal. What an opportunity we have as a community, right? We're approaching, I believe this for a long time, but we're approaching a tipping point. So many things are in our favor in this community right now. Growth is happening. Business leaders like you are investing. Emerging businesses are getting ready to launch, like coffee shops and other things. The town is working hard to be prepared through infrastructure, a unified development ordinance, and their newly adopted strategic plan, as Crystal referred to. The Chamber is here for you. Our secret sauce, if we have one, is we're the connector. We're the resource and we're the conduit. So you have access to all the resources that you need for success. Partners like Kimberly Wheeler with the Capital Area Workforce Development, she's here tonight. Just give a wave so people know who you are. She has been strategic in working with some of our businesses on helping with workforce. And then Michael Moore with Wake Tech. Michael, I saw you earlier as well. Yes, there you are. He is also available and has already done a lot of things with some of our businesses here in town. Make yourselves accessible to them, and if you don't have their contact information, get it tonight or call the office and we'll make sure we get you connected. We hope you'll leave this evening with excitement for what's ahead, for you, for your company, for your employees, and for our community. So as we move to the conclusion of our time together, we have just a few more community celebrations. Our Next Gen and Boys and Girls Club. Investing in our next generation of leaders is vital to every community's sustained growth, and they truly are the roots of our future. Throughout the year, the Chamber seeks to connect our younger population with businesses that can positively impact them for the future. Our Chamber partners and several sponsors for tonight's event made it possible for several local students to be with us. They're here getting to rub shoulders with you. Some of them are sitting at your tables. Business leaders like you, they can learn from you about the world of business. So would our Next Gen and Boys and Girls Clubs students please stand? We just want to give you a quick round of applause. and tell you thank you for being brave enough to be here. Some of them had to leave early, didn't they? That's right. They probably have school tomorrow. Thank you. And thank you, businesses, for giving them this opportunity. Here at the Chamber, at our annual meeting, we also celebrate the tradition of partnering with nonprofits like the Zebulon Rotary Club for one of their annual recognition awards. Each year, Rotary honors someone in the community with their Service Above Self award. And here to present that award tonight is Rotary President Honeybeth Wiggs.
Good evening, everyone. Hasn't this been a wonderful evening? It's been wonderful just to get to talk with everybody. Incredible meal. I am Honeybeth Wiggs, and I am the president of the Zebulon Rotary Club, and I love being a Rotarian in our town and providing service and opportunities to expand our communities and what we're doing in our communities. The Rotary Club, if you have never had any experience or exposure to the Rotary, it was started in 1905 by Paul Harris, and he decided that he wanted to do business to business with other gentlemen in town, and so the Rotary came from having meetings in one person's business to the other, and they would rotate every week. And Paul Harris set this very high standard of business and even doing life. And as Rotarians, we want to exemplify that. We love to help promote wellness and clean water abroad and education for people. We also are known for fighting polio. So one of the things that we do is we really want to develop relationships. We have high standards of business and personal growth and goodwill and peace. Now, as Denise said, once a year we honor somebody in the community with a Paul Harris Fellow Award. Just someone in the community who meets all of these high professional standards set forth by Paul Harris. And this year, we are awarding this honor to someone in our community that really does exemplify all of those. This person is very passionate about Zebulon, especially the revitalization. And one of the things that he loves our community so much that he did purchase a building and renovated it and moved his business downtown. And since then, he has been very active in helping new businesses relocate to downtown. So this year, will you please help congratulate me and welcome to the stage our Paul Harris Fellow Award recipient, Dallas Pierce. Dallas has been very instrumental, not only with helping businesses relocate downtown, but also with ZDAC and the Arts Council and the things that he wants to do to see and bring that revitalization to downtown. So we are very grateful for you. And you have the Service Above Self Award, and we also have a great little pin that I am not going to put on you right this second. I will let Susan do that for you. And behind every great man is an extraordinary woman. And Susan, would you stand up? We are just so grateful for you as well. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Would you like to say a quick word?
I will say a quick
word.
Thank you. I really appreciate the award. It's quite an honor, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Chamber for hiring Denise. As this gentleman said earlier, it is a pleasure to work with the Chamber. It's a pleasure to work with Joe Moore, our manager, Bob Matheny, our mayor, all our town council. Most of them I've been knowing probably too long, but they put up with it, and I appreciate it. I will tell you one thing before we leave. Over 43 years ago, I came out of college and I went to work with William Parrish at Parrish Realty here in Zebulon. Most of you knew him. William would stand around in staff meetings and tell all of us young agents that one day Zebulon was going to grow like we had never seen it before. We thought he was kidding, but 43 years later, here we are. It is growing ways that William imagined. I wish he was here to see it. I am thankful to have mentors that led me through a lot of the early years of real estate and business. I had some good ones. Zebulon is having an opportunity that's never had before. And I'm excited about working with new businesses. I'm excited about ZDAG. I'm excited about revitalization of downtown. Very dear to me. And I'm happy to carry on the tradition of people before me that did that with Barry, Ramona Davis. Ramona cornered me several times and made me promise that I would work on downtown. And I've done the best I can. I'm still going to keep on doing that. And thank you all for the award. Thank you for your work. And I look forward to working with all of you much, much more in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. It's wonderful. Business recognition for the year. Every year the Chamber recognizes a couple of businesses for their impact on community. They exemplify community support and are a testament to what it means to be an advocate for Zebulon. I think the hardest thing for our group is how do you just nominate two? There are so many of you that are so deserving. You heard part of their story earlier, and we're excited about their business continuing to be a staple in our community. Jason and Tammy Thornton are with us this evening, and how fitting that it was that we celebrated them tonight. They're celebrating their official move to Zebulon and their next level of commitment to this community. So we want to congratulate and thank you for loving Zebulon, and this year's Small Business Award goes to A&B Abbey Carpet and Floor. Long-standing businesses serving the community through support. One of our long-standing businesses serving the community through supporting small and large businesses is Petway Mills and Pearson. Petway Mills and Pearson has been a continuous supporter of the important work of the Boys and Girls Club of Zebulon. They make investments in amazing ways, in a lot of ways that you guys don't even know, but they love their Zebulon and they are so supportive of this community. So Briggs, would you come and accept the honor as the large business of the year? Thank you.
It's about the same risk as asking Dallas to have a brief remark. I want guys, Petway Mills and Pearson to be around 112 years like your friends at Whitley Galleries. We have been in Zebulon. We're the sixth generation or the sixth name of this firm since I think 1972. So we've been around as a firm, and I know a lot of y'all, and I'm thankful for it. But one of the things I've said, and I hate the kids left, my goal is to hire one of the Boys and Girls Club alumni to become one of our accountants, one of our CPAs at Petway Mills and Pearson. And I think I'm getting there. I have, there's at least one accounting major in college right now from the Boys and Girls Club. So I'm hoping that one day, one of these bright young people will have a professional position with these great people here in this town. So thanks for the opportunity you've given us and for the Boys and Girls Club.
Our final celebration tonight is the highly anticipated Citizen of the Year Award. Last year, the award went to Chris Ray. Thank you, Chris, for representing the Zebulon community with so much passion and dedication, leadership of your staff at Public Works. December 9 happened to be a Sunday this past year, and it snowed and snowed and snowed that morning. It was beautiful. And so my husband and I got out, and we were walking mostly off the streets, but sometimes in the streets because they hadn't been cleared yet. And then along comes Chris, and he's in this big old truck, and he rolls his window down and says, "What are you doing out here?" And I said, "Well, I love some Zebulon, I love it in the snow." So it happened to be my birthday, so it was an extra treat. But thank you, Chris. In 2016, we acknowledged the loss of William Parrish, who started Parrish Realty here in Zebulon. In 2017, his daughter Renee, you're here, thank you. Yeah. She honored her father by sponsoring the Citizen of the Year Award. It's so fitting that someone known for hard work, service to others, and fairness to all continues to be remembered this way. For the first time tonight, community sponsorships provided the gift of registration for all of our 2019 Citizen of the Year nominees and a guest to attend tonight's event. Each of our nominees are so deserving of the recognition. You'll know each of them for how they've invested in this community. We congratulate each of you for the honor of being nominated, and we thank you for your belief in serving in so many ways. I'm pleased to invite Mayor Matheny to join me and present this year's William E. Parrish Memorial Citizen of the Year Award.
Well, I can get it in a minute. Yeah, thank you, Denise. And, I think probably just a round of applause for the Chamber of Commerce itself. That was pretty good. It's a wonderful event. And it is always my pleasure, as long as I've been mayor anyway, to present the William E. Parrish Citizen of the Year Award. I'm sorry, I'm fighting a cold, so bear with me a little bit. But first, I'd like to recognize all of the nominees. There's so many people that deserve this award, and certainly this slate of nominees is not an exception to that. So if I could ask you to stand when I call your name. Roger Bradley. Frank Bradley. Danny Driver, Tommy Massey, and Robin Snow. Thank y'all. I just want to thank each of you for your contributions to our community, and just we're very grateful to you and want you to know how much you're appreciated. But there can only be one Citizen of the Year. So it comes down to a person that's selected by the Chamber Committee, and I want to tell you about that person. There were really a lot of wonderful remarks in the nomination letters, full of sincere comments about this person, and I want to read some of those remarks to you. The epitome of the town of friendly people. A person of big smiles, even bigger heart, only surpassed by a love of Zebulon. A person that has a wealth of knowledge about Zebulon and always has a great story to tell about something or someone, usually ending in a contagious laugh. Grew up here, has a great passion for the town, and when young was taught to respect others and to help when asked. Always willing to help a neighbor. This person is a member of the Zebulon Methodist Church, a successful business person and a hard worker, using the business not only to make a living, but also to improve the hometown. He is well respected in his profession by his clients and his peers, and as a nursery and landscape contractor, he has done a lot of work around Zebulon and other areas of North Carolina, including NC State University, Research Triangle Park, and Five County Stadium, just to name a few and give you an idea of the diversity of where he works. Actively involved in the community as president of the Friends of Wakeland, on the board of Preservation Zebulon, active with the Little River Historical Society and Vision Zebulon. He believes that history is important and that we need to be involved in respecting our heritage. He's very active with Vision Zebulon, and if you're not familiar with Vision Zebulon, it has to do with the Little River Park and the controversy that went on with that, so I'm not trying to stir that pot again, but it gives a good example of his commitment to the town. The Vision Zebulon wanted to save the dam at the Little River Park and develop the park into a true destination, a true destination for Eastern Wake County. True to his beliefs, he put forth his best efforts, worked with like-minded citizens, and used his own resources to help develop a concept plan for the Little River Park, which quite frankly is still being looked at today in conjunction with Wake County. He will do most anything to help Zebulon and its people, and he feels that Zebulon has been good to him and that he should repay the town. So welcome this year's William E. Parrish Citizen of the Year, Tommy Bassett.
I'm really surprised. So one thing for sure is I love this town, and I always have, and I always will. And thank you so much.
Thank you. So wrapping up, thank you to our sponsors, ambassadors, and our amazing chamber staff for this incredible event. I just need to say that part again. For my amazing staff for this event, Maria Vandenacker and Christine Stanko. Can we just give you guys like an amazing round of applause? They do it all so that it looks amazing, and they make me stay and write the script, so I do that. But they're amazing, and I couldn't thank them enough for all that they do. A myriad of logistics go into tonight's event, and it came together because of their dedication. On behalf of the 2019 Board of Directors, we're excited about moving forward together for the good of our community. As we conclude, last year we talked about building a strong base for the future using the story of a bamboo tree. If you weren't with us, the short story is a bamboo tree, when you plant it, you don't see anything for 5 years, like nothing. It doesn't really even pop its head up above the surface of the ground. In the 5th year, it can grow 90 feet in about 2 or 3 months. So working hard to create infrastructure that will direct next steps is kind of how we've aligned ourselves with that bamboo tree. Partnering with you, partnering with the town and others, we might not see immediate results, but signs of growth are just below the surface, so stay engaged. Be part of the movement, stay connected or get reconnected. We're growing, and there's a place for you to grow with us. I'd like to ask Pastor Tim Hopkins if he'd come and just offer a benediction for us tonight. Thank you.
Denise has done a great job, hasn't she? You know, every speech that was given tonight was timely, informative, and inspiring. And as a minister and as a member of the board, I am very inspired, seeing that I moved to Zebulon in 1958. And unfortunately, I had to leave. because my mom and dad decided to move elsewhere. But like Tommy Massey, this is a great town, a great area. And the story, David, that you were describing is a powerful story for those who have been here. And that story is continuously being recreated and evolving. But I want to say tonight, Patricia Robertson, I thank you for your vision and your contribution to all of our lives. We appreciate Patricia Robertson, don't we? Tommy, a great selection. Great selection, Tommy Massey. I've known him since childhood. I do want to say one thing, and before I do my benediction, I shouldn't do this, but I have to say something. Down on the corner of Vance Street in Zebulon, there's a place called Simply Blush Bridal. How many of you are planning on getting married in the near future? No prospects? Remarried? Don't forget Simply Blush Bridal. It's a really up-and-coming business down there, and we appreciate that business. Let us pray in closing. Our God, we're thankful for vision, for creativity, for innovation. For Lord, the fact is that we live in a world that needs change. Good change. Change that brings unity amidst the diversity. Lord, we thank you that as these people are gathered here tonight, these are leaders, these are visionary people. They're in businesses that make profit, that make a difference. And I thank you, Lord, that you give strength, you give quality, and you give gifts to these people who are doing a great work and bringing our area into vision as a place to be noticed, for development, for growth, for homes to be built and families to be raised and cherished. Thank you, Lord, for this evening, for the leadership of the Chamber of Commerce and those who prepared for this meal and this great time of speakers who have inspired our hearts. May we move forward into our future with greater vision, greater understanding, and a desire to work in harmony with one another to bring glory to your name, opportunity to those who need it. We give thanks to you today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Thank you.
You're dismissed. Thank you.
Yes,